Welcome to Women with Purpose. Imagine a world where every woman was living with purpose, at full strength and power. No fear of failure or regrets, impacting the lives of others wherever they are. When they're with their family and friends, in their community, locally, regionally, nationally, and in the world. This program is just a piece of a much bigger puzzle, but is our contribution to this vision. As women, we are not just meant to survive, but to thrive and to help other women do the same. This program is to inspire and encourage with strong examples of women who have taken on the challenge of living with purpose and have succeeded. Join us if you dare. Susan Levine is a counselor with a private practice, Women Reshaping Lives. Women Reshaping Lives is dedicated to helping women facing major life transitions such as separation, divorce, career transition, recovery issues, retirement, aging, and bereavement. In addition, she partners with other professionals in facilitating workshops on a variety of wellness, self-care, and life issues that are of special interest and concern to women of all ages. In this interview with Susan, you will discover transitions in life are a time of learning and growing. To get to the next level in life, you have to go through the pain and work through your challenges. She will give you hope and show you how she has taken the lessons from her life experiences to help others succeed. Hello and welcome to Women with Purpose. This show is dedicated to helping women, helping them get through their challenges, helping them so they can pursue a life with purpose. It helps them to find their passion, to see women, amazing women, going for it, getting through the challenges of life balance and being able to go for it every day. I am delighted and thrilled to be here with the wonderful Susan Levine from Women Reshaping Lives. She has an amazing counseling practice located in Simsbury, Connecticut, and she is dedicated to helping women on a daily basis, and that's quite awesome. Thanks for being here. Yeah.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here.
So tell me about Women Reshaping Lives.
Women Reshaping Lives is very special to me, not only because I do help women, but it's something that I'm doing actually in my retirement.
Nice.
And it kind of teaches me, as well as I hope that it would teach other women, that even when we finish one chapter in our lives, there are new chapters to be had, new adventures to be had. And sometimes we think of, as we're growing older, that we don't have something to look forward to, but there is. And so Women Reshaping Lives, I was retiring from my calling and career of 32 years, and 32 years being the cantor of the Farmington Valley Jewish Congregation, Emek Shalom, in Simsbury. Wonderful, fulfilling, rewarding career. And cantor is the clergy person who's in charge of all the musical liturgy and also does pastoral care in partnership with the rabbi. And so it was time. And that's what, in fact, one of the things that I do in working with women, especially going through retirement, then knowing when it's time to move on.
Nice.
That it's time to leave something. But as with all transitions, when you're leaving something, it's an ending, and there's a letting go involved. And before you can move on to that new thing, you're kind of adrift for a little bit of time. And I was too, until I just gave myself some space and said, what am I going to do? What do I want to do? And one of the things that happened for me is that I had always lived a life of doing very meaningful work. So retirement meant for me continuing to do meaningful work, but in a different way.
Nice.
And a different balance. And I had already had experience in counseling. I'd been with Bethany Pastoral Counseling Services for 15 years, in addition to my synagogue work. And I'm a licensed professional counselor in the state of Connecticut, so I had all of that with me, and a dear friend suggested, "Have you ever thought of?" To which I replied, "No." But when someone plants a seed and it resonates with you, it's good to listen to that, that message. And so this dear friend started to actually nurture me in terms of introducing me to other counselors, introducing me to counselors who had formed their own private practices and who were incredibly generous with their time and expertise in saying, what their experience was and helping me. And one of the biggest things was a counselor that I met with introduced me to a business coach who helped me to figure out who I wanted to counsel. And I knew right away that it was women, because as being a cantor, and that's a previously all-male profession, and so as a woman I had many interesting experiences about finding my own unique voice within that calling. And so I know that women struggle finding their voices. And so it resonated with me. I wanted to work with women because of that. And then the other piece of it was transition. We're all going through transition all of the time. And that change is a period of letting go, of grieving what we're moving on from, and trying to figure out what we're moving to. And whatever life beliefs and stories and histories that we have impact that. And so you need support around that to help you kind of find your way. And so I definitely wanted to specialize in transition. And I put the two together, and that's how Women Reshaping Lives came to be. And that was in 2012.
Wow, that's amazing. And I love the way you tell the story. It seems like there's so many different steps within there. I hear you saying to make sure that you're listening to the people around you, kind of taking what you need and leaving the rest, but paying attention, especially when it's someone who's close to you. There's a message in that. And then also paying attention to what you've liked throughout your life. So what you've been attracted to in terms of helping women, counseling. So there's some key steps to that, to find that. And it seems like it takes time too. It's not something you have to step back and breathe and sit when you're going through those transitions in life.
Yeah, you need some space. You need that.
No rush.
No rush, but also that time to actually sit with that being adrift. And even sit with the discomfort as well, because it's going to be a great teacher. It may not feel like that at the time, but it will. Because if you listen to that and you feel into it, how does it feel in your body? One of the things I do in my counseling practice is that I always relate things to where we hold these things in our bodies. We get so trapped in our heads.
Oh yeah.
That's where everybody talks about looping thoughts. They go round and round and round with no end. But when we take a deep breath and we just listen to what's happening in our bodies, do you feel tension in your shoulders, or a tightness in your throat, or pit, in your stomach? It's a sign. It's telling you something that you're uncomfortable with something. And it's a sign and saying, okay, what are you going to do about it? So choice is a big piece of being able to move forward, even recognizing that you have a choice.
I think a lot of times people are afraid of pain too. I think that pain, people fear that, and sitting with the pain. And I think that has caused a lot of people a lot of roadblocks in moving forward, because we're so afraid to sit with that pain and just go through it, especially if you're thinking in terms of breakup, loss of a job, anything like that. So we dive to the next thing, or we go back to what is probably not good for us. So I think it's interesting that one of the key things you're saying is sit with the pain. It takes a minute. It's kind of like when you're having, when you first have a child and they're crying and crying and you're like, oh, is it ever gonna stop? But it's that second child where you're like, this won't last. And you kind of don't get so caught up in it, and you enjoy
having had a new child. So it's the same concept where you have to sit with that pain to get to the joy.
Well, that's how you come to know yourself and know your spirit of resilience, your coping skills. When you kind of built up that kind of experience, you know that I've been through a tough time. This time, I can do it next time.
Yeah.
And you build that. But the pain is a teacher.
Yes.
It really is a teacher. And while it is uncomfortable, when we try and stuff it away or just pretend it doesn't exist, it festers. It's there.
Yep.
And so it will manifest itself.
Yeah.
Sometimes in physical ailments and things, or just by lying there and all of a sudden being triggered by something and kind of exploding.
Right.
The important thing is to also not only recognize your pain, but here's where the counseling comes in, where the therapy comes in. Find someone to hold that pain with you.
Support.
Yes, that's support, and it's a non-judgmental support to hold the pain, to be with you and guide you through that, and actually feel the cathartic change in being able to feel the pain and process it again through your being to be able to move on.
Nice.
And it is a process.
Yeah, and you can do it too if you allow yourself to go through the process. Yeah.
Well, I always think of Brene Brown, an author and shame researcher, talks about that owning our stories and loving ourselves through the process is the bravest thing that we can do.
I agree.
And it's so true.
Yes.
That it is a courageous thing. And being brave doesn't mean that you don't have fear. It means that you recognize your fear, but you go through it.
Feel the fear and do it anyway. Something
That's right.
like that.
Well, you kind of walk through it. But again, here you're looking for support. You gather that around you. You rely on, back to our resilience and our coping skills. What is your sense of faith and hope? And even your characteristics, are you persistent? Are you tenacious?
Yeah.
And that.
I love that word. Tenacious.
And does that, if you know that about yourself, and if you're not, well, what would you need to kind of be, gather that?
Yes.
And try it.
Yep. Yeah.
Allow it for yourself.
I agree.
And see what happens.
Tell me about some of your services. Tell me about, because it sounds like you do a lot, and I hear a lot in terms of the counseling, the support. Tell me about some of your services and that you offer.
Okay. Well, I do individual counseling therapy sessions.
It's like one-on-one?
One-on-one, usually once a week. But as therapy progresses, when it's warranted, we can go to every other week. I have clients who come in who've been with me for a while and come in for a once-a-month checkup.
The tune-up.
Which is actually also a very good thing. One of the things I believe in my practice is that therapy is a process of healing, understanding, learning, and growing.
Nice.
And so that really is a process that takes time. And it can't be rushed. In fact, each person is very, very different. And so when I walk that road with a client, we talk about that. We look at what works. I do meditation practice with clients, a lot of work on breathing. Sometimes I employ EFT, which is tapping, emotional freedom technique, where we're tapping on actually acupuncture points that reduce the charge of negative messages.
Wow.
And then we replace them with positive ones. They're all tools. So, there's a whole toolbox. And it's different for each person, what resonates with them.
I like that. I like the fact that you have the accountability too. So you have that checkup or tune-up. So once a month, people can come in.
Absolutely.
And I like the fact that there's growth too. A lot of times, sometimes in life with therapy, it's kind of like every week you're going and you're just saying the same things or complaining, and there's no, but it sounds like a person can go from 1 week to every other week to a month, so there is a progression. They're not going to get stuck.
Yes.
Yeah. I
And
like
the goals that we set, again, it's a partnership. So one of the things that's very, very important is our fit, that we have a really good fit. And because we're going to develop a very special, sacred bond with each other.
Nice.
That's different from any other.
Wow.
And with that, it's working that through. So we're able to communicate with each other. Client needs to feel comfortable and trusting to tell me what their needs are.
Wow.
And for me to hear that, and also to feedback.
Right.
So we do a lot of different things to encourage that kind of process, and also to put it right at the beginning that this is a growing process, that wherever they're at the moment is not an end point.
I like that.
It's a beginning point.
Yeah, they're not just stuck. It's
Yeah,
not
yeah,
a Band-Aid.
yeah.
You seem to have a process. I really like that a lot.
And that we're not going to uncover trauma and hard times just to thrash them through over and over.
Okay.
But as a learning to move forward.
Okay. Tell me about, you do workshops and stuff too.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I do. I do workshops, again, about resilience, about coping skills, about different transitions. Because in my practice, I work with a whole variety of transitions. I've already mentioned retirement.
Yes.
But there's career transition, separation, divorce, aging, bereavement, and recovery issues. Could be empty nest, all sorts of different transition issues. Because through every stage of our lives, we're going through some kind of change. And that can be challenging for all of us.
Nice. What was your vision and your mission for Women Reshaping Lives? And how close are you? I know.
Okay.
Thought it was going to be nice, didn't you?
That sounds like a trick question. I think my mission was to bring this idea that as challenging as change is, that we can do it, that women can do it.
Wow.
And that with the help and with their commitment, that they can see it through. And it comes from also part of my own life experience as well as my training. So it's very personal for me in that kind of way, because I've been through it too.
Nice.
So when I talk about retirement, that was a hard time. I felt kind of lost, and I needed to sit with that.
Because job a lot of times defines us.
That's
I know
right.
I struggled
Exactly.
with that, and I finally detached myself from that,
Sure.
that a job
Yeah.
or a position doesn't define me.
That's right.
And that's a struggle for people. A
Yeah,
lot of
it
people
is.
get
It's very
depressed and
big.
lost because that's their friends, their whole world
Sure.
is in that office.
Yeah.
And they forget to have that life. They have a life on the outside, but they've kind of neglected it because they were just pushing to climb that ladder, and now they're empty. And that's a scary place to be.
It is a scary
Yeah.
place to be.
Yeah.
But when you think of, and I use a technique, I call it reframing, in where we kind of can look at a situation and see it in different, as if you were looking through a camera lens. And so what you see in a close-up is different from what you see in a normal range, and it's different from what you see in a panoramic range. And it changes the perspective. So when we're tied to that job and that's all we see, that may be the close-up. We're not seeing anything else. But if you kind of pan out a little bit, there's more to our lives than just our work. There are relationships. Who are we connected to? Our activities, what do we like to do? What things fulfill us beyond the job? And that's what retirement can be about. But we also have stereotypes about what retirement used to be.
The gardening.
The gardening, yes. The gardening.
Bridge.
Mahjong. But it's also getting past those things.
Yeah.
Like as I was saying, that I looked at that and that wasn't me, because I had been used to fulfilling activity. And so for some people it's volunteer work. I mean, it can be a whole raft of things.
Right.
And it can be very creative. One of the things I loved about visioning Women Reshaping Lives and creating Women Reshaping Lives was about the creativity of it and the empowerment of it. That for this time in my life, I was creating something that had never been.
Nice. Yeah.
And that it was my vision, and that I was going to make it grow. I was going to tend that garden
Yeah.
and
Very
make
nice.
it grow. And so that's what's so very special about Women Reshaping Lives.
Well, it's something
for me.
from nothing.
That's right.
That's what I think.
That's right.
That's what I find fascinating when someone starts a business or a nonprofit, and especially something that's not where you can duplicate. You know, it's not like it's a franchise where it's like, oh, Women Reshaping Lives. Okay, I'm going to start a practice that helps women in transition. You know, where is that? What's the framework for that? And so you started something out of nothing, and now here it is, and it's created. And I think that's what's extraordinary. And you create hope. I really hear from you that you create hope. When people are lost and they're struggling, you're that hand that kind of pulls them out of the rabbit hole. And I think that's so needed and so amazing. And especially at this time in your life where you really could have headed for Hawaii. You decided to stay, and we appreciate that, and decided to kind of to keep going.
Yeah. But I find it very fulfilling too.
Yeah.
You know, it's I think I'm very excited about it.
Yeah.
And it's new for me too.
Yeah.
You know, all the things I've learned. In fact, even in communicating and networking, you know, as a business person, that was very far afield from my experience.
Yep.
And I've learned.
Yeah.
And so, you know, even the times that I've stumbled, I've learned.
Yeah.
And that's another lesson
Yep.
that I hope to pass on to others.
Well, the fact that you enjoy it, so it's almost like a passion of yours, helping
Yes,
people.
it is.
You put it together also with helping women, and then you know, passion. Your purpose is your passion.
Yeah.
Helping people. It's helping the community. So that's how it becomes a purpose, is you take what you love and you make it an impact in the world. And you're definitely doing that. I'm sure there's tons of women out there that are kind of walking around, and those are the not the seeds, because those are already planted, but you watered them and you kind of nurtured them, and I don't want to say give them fertilizer, but you kind of helped them to grow, and gave them new purpose. And that's amazing to leave that behind. You know, I think that's wonderful.
And I'm so proud of, you know, their
they're like your little kids.
courage.
Like
Well,
your little
it is
cubs.
wonderful. But it is wonderful.
It is, yeah. I agree.
To be a witness to that.
Yeah.
It is very fulfilling.
That change. To
It's-
see them,
it's
yeah.
beautiful.
From
It's
that
beautiful to
despair
see.
to, yes. Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about you real quick.
Sure.
Tell me about what you like to do. And I know you're married. If you want
Yes,
to,
I am.
Yeah,
I am.
yeah.
And it's my second marriage.
Nice.
And so, in fact, we just had our 10th wedding anniversary.
Wow.
Yeah, we're
Very
thrilled.
nice. Congratulations.
Thank you. I also have 2 sons, grown sons, and 2 daughter-in-laws. They're married.
Nice.
And I have grandchildren.
Yep.
So I have a 5.5-year-old grandson who's starting kindergarten. And I have a 2.5-year-old granddaughter and her baby sister,
Nice.
who's a few months old.
Nice.
And so I love playing with them. I love seeing them, but I love playing with them.
Yeah.
It is such a joy. And what I see in them, their discovery.
Wow.
You know, we talked about learning,
Yeah.
and I see their discovery,
Yeah.
and that's wonderful.
Through the eyes of children.
Oh,
It's, you know,
absolutely.
they fall, they get up.
Absolutely.
Because you
Yes,
can
they
learn
do.
the greatest salespeople in the world. You know,
They
when they
are
want
terrific.
something,
They are
they'll come up with
terrific.
all the different ways in the world. So, which is great.
Absolutely.
Tell me about your challenges, like just all together, because you've got work, you've got, you know, your marriage 10 years, you've got your kids and grandkids, and how do you keep that all together? Like, what keeps you driving through that?
Well, one of the things that I've learned through challenges in the past is how important it is to take that breath,
Yeah.
to take that time for self-care and to kind of know yourself, really know yourself. And sometimes for women that's very, very hard. We're so used to being caregivers that we caregive everyone but ourselves, and yet when we shortchange ourselves, we're not able to give the full amount of what we can give to others.
Yes, yeah.
So it's doing that. It's taking that space, that time. I love to walk. I love to read.
Yep.
You know, just I love to go to concerts and things like that. So to have that balance, and also the idea of setting boundaries.
Yep.
I do a lot of work in my practice about setting boundaries.
Yep.
How important it is to find time for ourselves, to know what belongs to us and what doesn't. A lot of times we're outside of ourselves. A lot of the work I think of that I do is inside out.
Yep.
Because we have a hard time with that. Sometimes we think it's selfish, and yet it's taking good care of ourselves.
I think it's important. I think people need to realize that it's not selfish, and it's always that plane, comparison when you're on the plane and the stewardess always tells you, or the flight attendant always tells you to put that mask on first, then on the other person. And we really have to think that way. It's not selfish at all.
No, it isn't. It isn't.
Yeah.
And you learn a lot. I've learned a lot about clear communication, honest communication, and that comes from being comfortable within oneself. And that's a journey too.
I agree.
And so that's been part of my journey, and it's wonderful to come to a place of feeling that comfort in oneself. And I hope to bring that to women.
Well, it's been amazing to sit here and talk to you. So comfortable. I could talk to you forever. But we have to wrap up.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're very
Everyone,
welcome.
this is Susan from Women Reshaping Lives. She has a wonderful practice out in Simsbury, Connecticut. Definitely look her up. Google her. She's amazing.
I'm there.
And check her out. Check her out. She's got a lot that she's going to be offering to this world for sure. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
And thank all of you. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for joining us for Women with Purpose. I look forward to seeing you next time. This show is on every month. Thank you so much for being here, and go live with purpose. Thank you.